begin with a descent.
This begins with a very steep descent. Then they have a gradual climb to two mountain premes, and then it's somewhat of a descent all the way down to Vittorio, Veneto.
And with the rain, the wet roads, this descent would have its elements of danger.
No question about it.
Nobody making any serious movement at this point early in. And you mentioned that because of the length of the races and the way these things sort of develop, that usually early on the race is as much a parade as anything else, that they'll just simply, everyone declares a truce up to a certain point at which the racing really begins. And of course there are exceptions to that, and occasionally you read about, hear about, or witness the odd breakaway from the gun, the desperate effort by a rider, or groups of riders who are away for 200 kilometers or more only to be caught near the finish.
Right, that happens a lot. You even have riders that have gained up to 20, 26 minutes and have been wearing the pink jersey on the road. But when the group really decides to react, they pick up the speed to such incredible levels here in the last kilometers, when we're talking about the last maybe 50, 60 kilometers, and they can totally obliterate somebody's lead in a very short period of time, because the speeds at which they get going during that last hour and a half are incredible.
Here's Moser, number one, no longer wearing the pink jersey, but nevertheless the defending champion of the Giro d'Italia.
That's a very unique jersey, by the way, Brian. I don't know if you noticed it, but it's got a huge ice cream cone in the back.
The Gis team?
Yeah, the Gis, the Moser's team. It's a humongous ice cream cone right on the back of the jersey.
And he's got his troops up front right now, setting a very fast pace at this point. Looks back, and this is a very interesting shot here as the helicopter goes into the clouds, showing us the conditions really that the riders are racing under. It apparently is not particularly cold, but it certainly is wet.
This is the entrance into the city of Vittorio Veneto, which is a very old, very pretty city. It's quite old, and it's nestled right in a valley. It is not too far from where we do a lot of our training rides, so every once in a while we do have a ride going into this section here.
And on this descent, this is where the riders who have the skill, the bike handling skills, are really going to have to show their stuff. And it's quite, whoa, and this is Moser now down, as you can see, and harmlessly enough sliding along on the pavement because it is so wet. Fall down every now and then.
Here we're looking at the last kilometer coming into the city. As you can see, it's a very old city, narrow streets, old castles right in the middle of town, etc. It's very picturesque.
And as poor as the weather conditions are, and the race finishing practically in the dark, there are still plenty of Italian fans to come and enjoy. This is another good sprint here. Good in that the racers are competing very determinedly, but one rider there feeling as though he was wrong, raising his hand, and I think correctly so, having been forced pretty well from one side of the road to the other by the apparent winner of the